D-Mace, Fingen, and Donick coming at you. It is Wednesday. We've made it to hump day. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Adam Bingen continues his vacation, and for a second straight day, he texted us.
Absolutely.
He couldn't resist.
He wanted us to pick a bone with somebody.
Yeah.
Which I
and
think,
like, pick the bone when you get back.
Exactly. But he has to be, he wants us to do it.
He's being driven by things away from vacation. I don't know if this is healthy or not. I don't know.
It's bothering him right now. Even as he listens to the show right now, because I know he's listening. I know he's listening right now. Even
you think he's listening live, or is he listening?
He's
later when everybody's asleep and he's up at night.
What time is it? 11. So I don't know the time difference. Well, I think they may be on Central Time as well.
No, it's noon.
It's noon.
North Carolina's noon right
okay,
now.
Carolina's noon. Yeah. Okay, so he may just as well. He may be on the beach. Bridget and Arlo are playing. He's sitting in the chair.
Got
got the little iPod, earpiece here, and he's listening to the show. I see you, Adam. I see you. Pay attention to Arlo. Look, he's right. Take a picture of him right there, right now. Take a picture. See, he knows. He's gonna pull out his phone and take a picture.
Well, we're going to talk a lot of Titans training camp today. D-Mace and I are fresh off the field, rehydrated.
Oh, my goodness.
It's steamy out there. There's no question. I noticed the areas that are protected by the new thing that they've built, a little more shade over there. Those are very popular areas for the media to stand. So we got a chance to watch it. They went pretty hard again today, second day in pads. And I think the question on everybody's mind was, after some struggles yesterday, how would Cam Ward look today? And of course, we're probably going to be talking about Cam Ward every time we see him play. It's just that important. We know he doesn't have a loaded roster around him. And so I thought today, D-Mace, it was better, but he's still learning the process. He's still going through some struggles, and they're definitely making it tough on him. So Rome was not built in a day. But what did you think about his performance today as opposed to yesterday?
I mean, it's going to be a process. This is all a part of the development phase for him. You're going to have some days where you look good, and then you're going to have some days when you look bad. Typically, when you start to get in the pads and they start throwing different defenses at you, that's when you're going to struggle. It's a lot easier and it's a lot cleaner when no pads are on. You could see it a little bit better. But once the pads come on, for some reason, things start to get cloudy and cluttered. And you can't read it as fast as you need to. That's why this time, this is going to be critical, for him in his development. They're throwing everything at a kitchen sink at him, and rightfully so. This is an opportunity for you to make your mistakes, develop the quarterback, and eventually you'll see whether he has it or not. Holding back on him isn't going to help him. Throw it all at him, see what he can, digest, see what he can pick up on, and then you hope the next time he sees it, he recognizes a lot earlier. But these last 2 days have been, a struggle for him. But it's not the end of the world either.
Yeah.
Does he need to get better? Absolutely. We need to see. The team needs to see continued development in him. But just because he has a bad day or some bad periods within practice, because that's what it was. He had a few bad periods, more plays within practice. But the more those we get minimized, the better it's going to become. It wasn't as bad as it was yesterday, but it still was there was still a little bit off. They were a little bit off.
I thought today, unlike yesterday, he flashed bigger plays. Mm-hmm. He still pushes the ball down the field. And we're going to talk about that, the aggressiveness trait that he has that everybody has seen, and everybody knows he's going to have to channel, right? You have to channel that properly. You have to figure out what you can get away with and what you can't in the league. And that is jumping out at me as something that is going to take a while, especially knowing that he doesn't have himself surrounded with the horses that other teams are going to have around them. He's not for a while. And so a lot is on him. This is going to be very, very difficult for him. But right now, he's not throwing a very tight spiral, D-Mace. Consistently, he's throwing a lot of wobbly passes to me. But he threw 2 or 3 darts today, like very impressive throws, like a deep, deep crossing pattern that he hit, which was a wobbly pass, but it was right on the money to Ridley, and then another one down the middle that just not a lot of people can throw, that Jaquan Jackson couldn't quite hang on to, that he should have. But so there was a few throws today. I was like, now that looks like a guy that's got some things that he brings to the table that most do not have.
Yeah, but as practice goes on, as these days start to, pile up behind him, he got to have less and less of these days. He has to have more and more of days that he's showing that he's pushing through, that he's catching, that he's, figuring out, not just the offense, but he figure out the defense. And that's what people don't understand. It's not this the offense he has to learn, and sort of, digest and be able to go out there on the practice field and do those things that y'all went over. He has to know the defenses too. So that in itself is a tall task for a young rookie quarterback. We don't, and listen, every quarterback I'm sure has gone through this. We only saw with Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, we only saw the good part once the season got going. We didn't see the training camps. We didn't.
That's a good point. I don't know. I don't know what they look like the first couple days in pads. Absolutely. I would imagine they made some mistakes.
Exactly. So we just saw what would tend to be the end product, but it's really not necessarily the end. But I'm saying end product after training camp and after preseason games. We saw what he ended up developing into his rookie year. We didn't see all the stuff that the days he, probably had bad practices or he threw interceptions, whether it be Caleb Williams, and I'm talking about CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Daniels, any of those quarterbacks that are now showing themselves to be really good players. I'm sure they had their moments or days in practice their rookie year, but because we don't follow them like that, we're not going to know. So do I want them to get better moving forward as we continue, or as the Titans continue to go through camp? Yes. But I'm not going to sit here and sort of over evaluate things when I know that, he has a long way to go. And I think if everybody understands that, then, these camps is for him to figure some things out and to not make the same mistakes that he did like the day before.
Right. This is how we're going to approach the development of Cam Ward, is to never overreact. If he had come out and lit it up today, I'm sure there would be a great narrative of, oh, he really responded to the 3 interceptions the day before. Wow, he looks amazing. And it was kind of somewhere in between. Did he at least, because to me, he made a couple of really impressive throws today where I'm saying there was a flash of brilliance. We're like, okay, now that's what we're supposed to be seeing. This is what he brings to the table. Did you see a couple of those today?
Yeah. The one to Lockett was a hell of a throw. Obviously, the one to Calvin Ridley, the one he threw down the middle to Jaquan Jackson, it was a rope about 40 yards down. It should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
Flat out touchdown. But Jaquan Jackson, you got to make plays like that, because right now you're slipping down the depth chart. You make a play like that, now you start to tick up on the depth chart, but you didn't. But we're talking about the quarterback. So there were things within the practice. And listen, the practice wasn't doom and gloom, but there were, plays or moments that you thought, okay, he's going to have to pick it up. But knowing this is the part of the development phase.
Right.
But then you saw some plays that were like, okay, but not to get too high because of what you just saw. So it's kind of in the middle.
Sure. And we all want it to be happening right now. We can't wait for the first game, all of that. One theme that I
Mhm.
thought was out there was the continuing process of him learning the arm angles and the lanes to throw in. He threw one interception today that was a tip ball. He had 3 or 4 balls that were deflected and a couple right at the line of scrimmage where he's dropping down. He threw an interception yesterday where it was a full sidearm, throwing from 3 o'clock, right? That got tipped and picked off. Today, he threw one very similar that he completed. And then
Mhm.
later, another sidearmer tipped and intercepted. So that's a process. I'm thinking about this, D-Mace. You don't want to take that away from him.
No,
Not the second day of pads, right? You
no,
want
no.
him to be able to use that club in the bag, right? If that's a weapon down the road. And I think they're going to have to live with some of that until he figures out when it's time to do that and
Mhm.
when he's got to raise his arm slot.
Yeah.
That's for some of these throws, right? Because there were a few that's like, you could tell he saw something down the field, but the pass never got there because it never got past the
Yeah,
line.
he's seeing it, and that's the good part about it. That's the encouraging part about it. He's seeing whether it be the hot route or the quick game. He's seeing it, or he's seeing it, but he has to get used to again. Um, the defensive lines were different in college that they are now. And I think he has to figure that out very quickly because there were too many batted balls or balls hitting, a defensive lineman in the helmet or hitting somebody. We have seen too many of them, to my liking anyway.
Yeah.
Which means that,
And they haven't been balls that were deflected because a guy really reached
Exactly.
up and you're like, man,
Yeah.
that was an amazing tip. They were
they've
like
been
head
low,
level.
yeah. They've been low throws because he's trying to, throw at an angle to try to get around a would-be defender instead of trying to get over the would-be defender. And he's going to learn. That's something that you hope he learns because it comes a point, where how many balls are you going to get batted down? Either you figured it out or you can't be the starter. And it's not like he's the only quarterback. That's why I'm encouraged. I look at it as, okay, it's just a process because we've seen so many quarterbacks that are under 6'2", or 6'1", that had to adjust, some of their throws based upon, because of their height and based upon the height of the offensive linemen that are in front of them. And they managed to work it out. I think the more and more he's underneath center, the more and more he sees it, the more and more he feels it. I think automatically his arm will adjust to what's up front.
Okay. The last part that we'll hit here, and it's just like what happened with Cam, because it's going to be daily. You can't avoid it. And I'm trying to do this and not disrupt this is not about the hype train. This is just about straight up what we're seeing every day. But again, it was another, I think there were many more examples of him still needing to adjust from the college clock where, hey, first look's not there, second look's not there. I'll just buy time. I'll slide in the pocket. I'll start running around and I'll find somebody. It's just so much harder to do that with the number of times that he's doing it in practice, right? You can do that occasionally. There's going to be times to do that, and it's going to be something that I'm hoping he excels at. But there's still a lot of plays where the timing doesn't quite look right. It's thrown a little bit late, or he holds the ball that second long, and then it's kind of a dead play, right? Nobody's sacking the quarterback, but you can tell he's running around back there, but everybody in their mind is saying this play is not
exactly.
This isn't a play. He's going to be sacked.
Yeah, and that's something that he's going to have to, with repetition, he's going to figure out that I can't sit back and hold the ball for 4 seconds in practice and then throw it away. I'm surprised, and maybe they do. I just didn't hear it with that loud music playing. Maybe they do because typically coaches offensive coaches, they have a buzzer that goes off and tell the quarterback, hey, listen, play's dead. You took too long. I know I heard a buzzer before the play. There was always a beep before the play, but I don't think I heard a beep or you're sacked during the play. Now, there could have been, so I'm not saying there is. There could have been, but because of the loud music, I couldn't hear it. Maybe they could on the field. But that's one of those tools that Coach Brian Callahan can use to let him know, hey, listen, you only got 2 seconds to get rid of this ball, or 2.5 seconds to get rid of this ball. You got to work within the clock. Once we end, the play is really dead. You can continue to play, but more than likely in the game, that play's dead. So he just got to get used to that.
When we come back, we might touch on the music because D Mason and I are the old guys, and we're looking. I go, look at this. I can't believe they're playing this music. They play loud music throughout practice, and it is notable. Like, you can't not notice it. The other thing we're going to hit on too is the degree of difficulty of what Cam Ward is seeing. Is this a good thing? Brian Callahan has said pretty openly they're trying to throw a lot of things at him, which is contributing to what we're seeing in practice, the results of practice. So do they need to back down on this a little bit? That's something we can talk about here when we come back. By the way, our phone and text line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can reach us at 615-737-1025. We want to hear your thoughts on all of this. You're listening to DVD presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And remember, we are, as always, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Derek Mason here. And if you've been injured, if you've been injured in an accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers for a free case evaluation. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible or nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you and will help you get it repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support an event or if they see your bike broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. That's Law Tigers, which is powered by Freeman and Fusen, and you can find them in Nashville at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
DVD continues here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason. Our phone and text line is always open at 615-737-1025. It's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joey from Bellevue. John McClain was on with Chase and Joe. They asked him about the Texans camp. McClain said that Stroud has been throwing interceptions. It happens to the best of them. So outside perspective.
Yeah, see, we don't know because, again, you just see, and CJ Stroud took a step back last year. Now, was that because of injuries and whatnot? But, we will see this year. But we only see, and I'm talking about, those that are on this radio or those that are covering the Titans, even the Titans fans, we only see, the end product or what they present to us once the season starts when we're talking about, some of these young quarterbacks. And some of them, like CJ Stroud, like Jaden Daniels, they get better as the season go, and you can see the development in them. But we didn't see probably all of the mess that the interceptions that they threw, the off-timing passes, the short balls, the long ones, the overthrows. We didn't see all of those. Why? Because we don't cover the team. We don't talk about those teams. But we're going to do that here. I guarantee you that some of what we're seeing now with Cam, you saw in Washington, you saw in Houston, you saw in New England, you saw in Chicago. So I don't want to sit here and take what I've seen from Cam and make a determination on who he's going to be either way, whether he's going to be a great quarterback or not. What I want to see is just, like everybody else, the development in him.
Dylan on our text line saying the entire point of these practices is for him to learn. So I just want to know, was he better today than he was yesterday? That's what we should strive to ask ourselves every single day. I think good words of wisdom from Dylan. All right, so let's get to Trey. He's got a call for us. 615-737-1025 is the number to weigh in on. Trey, what's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing today, guys?
All right.
Doing well.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I know y'all been covering Cam for a while as far as like watching his tape and stuff like that. And I know y'all been going to his practices and stuff. Is this trajectory going north, south, or is pretty much the same? Because all I've been hearing about is he's been throwing interceptions through the middle. And I just want to get y'all perspective of it. Is he trending north or what right now? Because he has been here a while. He ain't just got here yesterday. And I'm sure he's had quarterback coaches to help him. And I just want y'all's opinion about that. And y'all have a good day. Thank y'all. Love y'all.
Thanks, Trey. Is the arrow pointing up? Is he saying?
I think the arrow is horizontal right now. It's not vertical. It's horizontal.
But not down.
But not down. It's not going down. It's horizontal right now because yesterday there were some struggles. Today was better, but I'm not saying that the angle is it went from down. Now we're turning it. Now it's at 3:00. So let's just say that now it's at 3:00. We want to get it to 12:00. And it's going to take some time for him to get to 12:00, So right now he's sitting, he was at 6. Now he's sitting at 3. And let's hope that, as the practices go on, he can pick up on this stuff.
Okay. So let's build on what we were talking about in the last segment. Number one, what if I were to ask on a scale of 1 to 10, based on what you normally see and knowing that we don't know everything, right? We're not sitting in the meeting room and Denard Wilson is telling you, hey, D-Mix, here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw all kinds of stuff at Cam Ward. But based on what you're seeing, D-Mix, on a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult are they making things on Cam Ward, especially given where he is? And I'll give you the backdrop. We played the clip yesterday from Brian Cowling where he basically said, I'm not afraid to make it tough on him in practice. Because I think he can handle it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what kind of degree of difficulty are you seeing?
As far as what they're trying to do to him,
the complexity of the defense that he's
I
saying.
think they are. It's not on red right now. It's not on red. I don't think they're completely just like, but I think it's at that point where they are, they're not easy. They're not walking into this. They're almost like they're jogging and then they want to start running. Sometimes with a quarterback, some coaches like to walk it, sort of walk it first and then sort of pick up the pace and then release everything. I think right now with them, they're on the jog pace right now, because what you got to understand is next week I think they're gone next week, right? They are is it Atlanta or Tampa?
I forget the order, but yeah, they leave and aren't back for a while.
Yeah, it's like a week or two they're not back. So you're practicing not necessarily against yourself. You're going to be practicing against another team, and they're going to be throwing stuff at you. And the last thing you want as a coordinator or head coach is for your quarterback, the first time he's seen like a certain blitz is when they go scrimmage Tampa or when they go scrimmage Atlanta, because he tends to end up looking bad when that happens. And we know once you're practicing against another team, the interception you throw, it gets extra coverage now. So they want to throw things at him now. So once they get to Atlanta or Tampa, it's not something that he's seen for the first time.
I think about different sports experiences that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think back to, there's youth sports where you're developing and you're building confidence by having success. And let's say you are a youth basketball player and you're doing really well against kids your age, and you get to the point where you're better than everybody your age. And so that builds confidence. But there's also if you're that good, let's play you against, the kids a year older or 2 years older, and you might struggle some. So which way is the way to go? There's that thought that I think Brian Callahan, when he puts the practices together each day, probably has to ask himself is, how much am I pushing him against, the higher degree of difficulty? And do I need to balance it by maybe having some days or some parts of the practice where I think he should experience success? You see what I'm saying? Like the whole like these last two practices, it just there's a feeling of, man, he's struggling. He's struggling. And it's good to struggle, but I also wanted to see him I found myself wanting to see him have success within the practice as well. And that hasn't happened as much. So I'm wondering, do you have to maybe on another day coming forward here, dial it down a little bit so that he has at least an easier time having success? How do you feel about that whole thing?
I understand what you're saying.
You've talked a lot about how your big brothers beat you up a little bit.
It's just,
and that was a good thing for
exactly.
you,
And they
right?
never, at least I don't think, they
didn't let you
never
win.
Let me win. Like, just no, that's not how we roll. We don't let you win. You got to earn the right and win the way, the right way. With quarterbacks, I don't think you try to design a practice where, because there were some unscripted stuff today, but you do try to, set your practice up to go against certain defenses to see if your quarterback can figure it out, his first read, second read. And I talked about that yesterday, but I don't think you can purposely say, well, he had a bad day or too bad. Let's just, at least I wouldn't. Let's just make this practice an easy one where he's going to complete passes and get his confidence up. I know that's a part of the whole psyche of a quarterback, but I'm not sure if that's doing him, if that's helping or hurting him, in that situation, because ultimately you got to figure it out. We got to know that you can figure it out. If you can't figure it out, then is it because you just need more development, or is it because you just can't get it and you won't get it? So I understand what you're saying. You had 2 bad days. Now the head coach is thinking like, what can I do to make my quarterback sort of feel good about himself? Okay, let's design. I understand that part, but
because I'll give you another reference, right? My reference point in baseball, this is what you have the luxury to do. In hockey, you could do this. You bring a guy up, you think he's ready. You throw him out there. You said, let's push the envelope. Let's see if he can make it.
Mhm.
And he loses confidence, doesn't have a lot of success. You can send him back to the minors,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
okay, let's say, and it's not a fun thing to
Mhm.
say you got to go back to the minors.
But at least you're
But you
playing
go back,
and getting development there.
yes, and you regain the confidence, and then
Exactly.
maybe you're more ready to come back the next time. You can't really do that in football.
No.
He can't go to the minors, right? There's no
minors.
development. So you have to do this process in this limited window that you have, the off season and the training camp.
Yeah, it's real time. You got to do it now. There's no we can put him back there and let him go to the minor leagues and let him play games and get developed more and see some more things. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So what you try to do is, I would rather Brian Callahan make it as hard as he possibly can for Cam Ward than to ease up on him, because defenses are not going to ease up on them. Once they know they got you, they're coming, and they're not going to say, "Oh, let's pull the dogs up." No, they're going to let that dog chew on you a little bit more. So I don't think it, and I know coaches have their own way of sort of doing things that can sort of get that quarterback back in rhythm. A lot of check downs and a lot of short intermediate routes or the quick game that can typically get a quarterback going back going again. But to going to practice saying, okay, this is a quarterback's practice, and just so he can regain his confidence. I'm not saying it's never been done. I've never heard of it being done. So would it work? I don't know, but I would rather throw everything at him and find out whether he knows it, can learn it, can develop, or he can't.
And we know he's facing a defense, and this is another thing that is very overshadowed because there's so much. Everybody's watching Ward, but Denard Wilson's defense. It is a defense that is a little different than how some defenses play. He is not what I would call the trend in the league, which is, get the rush with the front four. Really doesn't have the luxury of doing that because they don't have an outstanding pass rush. So he's bringing blitzes, like even in practice, he's bringing the extra guy. That's how they're going to try to get heat on the quarterback. Is the old, I don't know if I would say old fashioned, but it's a fairly aggressive defense, right? It's not back off, contain, don't give up explosive plays, and they'll make a mistake or we'll hold them to a field goal. So many defenses play like that. He's got the blitzes. So Cam Ward is facing a defense that's coming with blitzes, and the idea is behind those blitzes a lot is deception.
A lot of this is for Denver. A lot of this really is for the first game of the season, making sure that he sees all fronts. Make sure he sees all blitz, because a lot of these blitzes, they're zone blitzes, and that is the worst for a quarterback. It's like, because if you don't read it right, we saw it yesterday, you don't read it right, it's an interception. It's an interception, or is that it's a missed opportunity to make a play. So they're throwing blitzes at him, but they're throwing blitzes at him and they're playing zone on the back end. He has to recognize that stuff, and I think he did a better job at that today than he did yesterday. But they're going to keep on throwing it at him, and I would rather them continue to throw it at Cam, allow him to decipher, and allow him to figure it out, because this is when you figure it out. You got basically a month to get your offense as close to running on all cylinders as possible before you hit the first game. So you have this whole month to do that. Well, there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be moments where he looks bad, but you just hope that he continues to develop. But in the process, we're going to throw everything at him that we could possibly throw at him.
I remember last year a lot having the thought that Levis, he could look good at these practices. He could have some struggles. But when I watched Mason Rudolph, I did see like a football IQ that jumped out at me. I think one thing that's notable as we watch Cam Ward go through these things, Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle, the other two quarterbacks, are not having a whole lot of success either. Is that fair to say? It's not like, hey, well, here's Allen, the veteran. He's moving the ball down the field. He's making plays. He's making more plays. He hasn't really thrown the interceptions, but I don't see him jumping out at me.
Nah, you don't. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, that the other quarterbacks are not, flashing or having some success, within what they're doing. So it- Cam, he, he has to figure this thing out. And the quicker he figure it out, the better. But I think on the flip side, this is where, Brian Callahan, this is where he's truly going to come into play. And this is where, if you think about it, this is where his father, Bill Callahan, he's really going to have to come into play right now because, and I'm not saying this to say the offensive line did a bad job today, because there were certain times where, the defense got the best of them, but then they got the best of the
I
defense
thought
too.
in particular in the running
Yeah,
drills, I thought they had some good running plays today.
exactly. So it was it's kind of back and forth with the offense and the defense. But I think it's critical because the one thing that I have noticed, and once this happened, man, it's hard to then, and I think that's why Trevor Lawrence is having such a big problem. I think that's why um, 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 uh, uh, the kid Caleb Williams is going to have a big problem, and CJ Stroud may have a big problem now that they've gotten rid of their tackle. I don't know why they did that. That's crazy. But if you don't get him a pocket, and I said this last year about Will Levis at time, if you don't get a good pocket for him consistently, he's going to start developing bad habits. And you are tasked to make sure he doesn't develop bad habits. I'm not going to say the low passes are a bad habit. I think that's just something he's accustomed to doing. And he was able to do it in college and get away with it. We've seen many quarterbacks that were able to, do certain things in college, but they had to come to the league and they had to readjust themselves or sort of configure themselves as quarterback and adjust what they were doing. Cam has to learn that. And more importantly, Bill Callahan has to see it and Brian Callahan has to see it, because Bill, if you don't get that offensive line straight and he doesn't see a consistent, clear pocket, he's got the stuff he's doing now, he's gonna continue to do. That's just the way it is. You got to start establishing a clearer pocket. And I'm not saying, it hasn't been that way. Like I said, it's been up and down the last 2 days. It was bad last evening or last morning, yesterday, but it was a lot better. It was better, not a lot better. It was better this morning. So I'm not saying this thing is completely bad. What I'm saying is that you don't want this to continue to be sort of this seesaw. You want that consistency going up. And the only way you can do that is if you consistently give him a clean pocket.
When we come back, we've got some texts that we're going to read on our phone and text line, 615-737-1025, presented by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. At the top of the hour, Jonathan Hutton is going to join us. We'll get his perspective on what he's seeing so far on Titans training camp. We'll also talk about the University of Tennessee as they start their preseason practice with some of the issues that they are dealing with. Hey, don't forget, 1025 The Game and Souls for Souls have teamed up for a back-to-school fundraiser, Souls for the 615. It's to provide new shoes for kids experiencing homelessness in Tennessee. And in Nashville, a child in Middle Tennessee can step into the school year with confidence by donating $20 for a new pair of athletic shoes. So that's what we're looking for, $20 donations so kids can get a new pair of athletic shoes for that school year. For the info and to donate, visit thegamenashville.com/shoes.souls for the 615. It's sponsored by Macero and 12 South. Go check them out for handcrafted cocktails, bold plates, great happy hour, and elevated hospitality. Stay tuned. We're coming back. Hey, let's talk Loan Pronto for a moment. If you've got the home improvement project that has been on your mind for a while, you've got the vision, but now you want to put the plan in action and you need the funds behind it. Just remember, if you're a homeowner, you've got home equity at your disposal. It's yours, and you can get cash out to fund a home improvement project and make that valuable home of yours even more valuable. Invest in it. So call Loan Pronto for a free instant home appraisal and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the BBB. They've got nearly 2,500 five-star Google reviews. They can help you fund this home improvement project, and you can get approved in less than 24 hours with no hard credit pull up front. 615-499-5780 is the number, or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Back here on DVD, we're going to hear from Cam Ward in just a moment. He hit the podium after today. I think a lot of people will be interested to hear what he had to say after these first two practices in pads. Hey, tune in to ESPN 94.9 The Fan later as the Sounds take on Scranton Wilkes-Barre. I said it right today. Pregame begins at 5:20 and the first pitch is at 5:35. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and the GameNashville.com. Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Coming up at noon will be Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. His weekly visit with us. We'll get his observations on what he's seen so far. D. Mace and I were at practice the last 2 days. Cam Ward is, of course, got all the eyeballs on him. Here's what the rookie had to say after today's practice.
Hey, Cam, after practice, when you take those extra reps with receivers, how do you choose which receiver you throw to after practice? Do you mix it up all the time, or do you have a little bit of a system?
It's kind of both sides, I would say. If I miss a receiver on something, I want to get back with that. I want to get it back with that specific receiver. And then the boys know I'm out there every day. So you want something to work on, I'm out there. Come find me.
How do you feel like you bounced back after a rough day yesterday for the offense?
It's not really about bouncing back. It's about getting better every day. It's only 3 outcomes when you throw the ball. It's either completion, incompletion, or a book. So
I guess we're a weekend camp. Cam, how you think camp's gone so far? What do you like about what has been done? What kind of needs to improve?
I think I like where we're at right now, especially on the defensive side. Our D-line, they're a very good defensive line who got the quarterback. Our linebacker group and Cody Barton and James out there, and then our defensive back group. I just think we just got to get better at the little things, especially myself, with the quick game and protections. But we all got a lot of stuff to continue to get better at, and I'm excited for it.
What do you think you can learn from a day like yesterday, just where things didn't go right for you? Like, what can you learn from it?
Get on page with my receivers, watch film more, and be accurate with football.
It seemed like the tempo today was a little bit faster. Is that accurate? And if so, like, how does that impact just your performance?
You said the tempo?
Yes.
We just had a tempo drill. We didn't have a tempo drill yesterday. So all this stuff that we're doing is what Coach Callahan thinks we need to work on the most.
Difficulty level. Is this kind of what you expected? Is it harder? Is it easier? Just as you're practicing here for the first time, how would you gauge that?
Well, it's getting easier every day. Just with the terminology, the speed of it, the play calls, how quick you have to get in and out of the huddle. It's getting easier every day. But I mean, I'm excited. I got a good group around me. The O-line, the running backs around me, the receiver core. It's just all about us just continue to get better every day and also building that camaraderie with each other.
Yeah, you're taking reps, after your reps, you're going to the side a lot. You're talking to Tyler Lockett or Calvin Ridley in particular. Is that part of that communication, and how, I guess, good is it for you to get that instant feedback?
I think it's what you should need as a quarterback. They got to see from my point of view. And I also got to see from their point of view. So it's just about us, just learning each other. Lockett, he's a vet in the league. He's one of the best route runners at the slot position. He's been productive in every stop he had, and so he gotta learn just where I want to put the ball, and also got to learn his route running.
Been an increase in tipped balls the last 2 days since you're in pads.
Say that again?
There's been an increase in tipped balls at the line the last couple of days. How closely do you review them, and how much do you consider, where your arm is and where the ball's coming in?
That's my answer for it. I throw side arm, it doesn't get tipped. I throw side arm again, get tipped. So.
And what's your outlook on, maybe to put it one way, like failures and things not going well being part of your process? How do you see that?
So again,
Sorry. In terms of, whether tip balls or whatever it is, how do you view those kind of like failures as part of your process?
It's not really failure. I work hard every day. So at the end of the day, I think I'll get to my end point where I want to get in football. I just think it's not even a learning point. I've been throwing sidearms since I was 6 years old. I had tip balls in high school, college. I had tip balls here in practice. I'm going to have a tip ball during the season. So I'm not really worried about that. It's about how you bounce back the next play. You just got to, keep on stacking good plays on top of each other.
When we talk to your teammates, they always mention how confident you are, maybe more than what a rookie would normally be. How do you maintain that even if things aren't going well? Like, do you try not to let it show if you make a bad play, or try, if it's important to have guys believe in you in that way?
I just think you never get too high or too low. That's the quarterback position. And then every play, Coach Callahan's calls, it's going to be a good play or a bad play. So, yeah, you can't hide it. It's going to be a good play or bad play. You just take the goods, good with good, and the loss with the losses.
You always have that ability.
Yeah, I think so. Then also, it was good, Bash. And then also, I just think just how I came up and got to this point, what I had to go through from a young age. I just think it just made me believe even more that, bad things come with good things, and good things also come with bad things. So you just got to be vice versa, and then just have a next play mentality, which I had my whole life.
When you talk about trust and the stuff you've done since you were 6 years old, how do you know when it's something you should just trust because it will work versus when it's something that you need to adjust because you're at a new level you've never played at before?
I'm just a big person on work. I'd say yesterday, I've grown up, watched my dad wake up at 4:30 doing a job he didn't like. So, if I can't wake up early and do what I need to do for a job I do like, I shouldn't be playing football. And that goes for everybody in the locker room. If you can't have the expectation for yourself that you want to be whether a good or a great player and want to put the work in, I just think that's how it should go. I just think good things only come to those who work.
First time we talked to you since the Nissan Stadium practice, what was that like being in the stadium for the first time? I think some people were handing their kids to you on the side. What was just the excitement level around? What were you hearing from some of the fans?
I really wasn't hearing anything. When I step between the lines, I really just go tunnel vision. I block everything out. And that's really it. But it was a good atmosphere. I was glad the fans were able to get out there, show their support for us. And I'm ready to see them come, the preseason game and the home opener.
How would you describe?
Callie's talked to us about the importance of third downs and red zones for you guys this year. I know it's obviously very early, but can you talk a little bit about how you feel like you've done in third down and red zone situation?
I'd say decent, not good enough in my position. And I just think it's just, getting the ball out and letting people make plays. Seeing it down the distance, still learning why he's calling a specific play, whether it's run, pass, or RPO. They also just us continue to play together. We've been getting at that, getting better at that the whole training camp. But I think it'll finally hit us together when we start to, feed into one each other once we get a chance to play against some other teams.
Stadium practice through today. How would you characterize how the offense is?
I just think we're very mid right now. From my position to up front to the receiver's position, but at the end of the day, it all starts with me. I just don't think we're at where we need to be, but we got a little bit of time, and so every day we get better as a whole. We're a young team, but that's no excuse. At the end of the day, we got to come with the right mindset every day and come to work.
Brian said he's had some periods where he's intentionally let the defense kind of tee off and go after you, put you under pressure, and try and speed up the process of your learning. You appreciate that, and how much has that helped you?
I do appreciate it. A lot of stuff we do out here is to the defensive advantages, but that's good for us as an offense. If we can overcome this little stuff in practice, we'll be able to overcome a lot of adversity in the game. But I'm excited. Those guys on the defense side of the ball, they get me better every day. We battle every day in the trenches, the O-line, the D-line. But I'm excited. I'm glad Coach Callahan's doing it. I want it even more. But, I just got to continue to put my head down and work.
All right. That is Cam Ward. Some really interesting insight to me, Derek, on how he handled those questions, because he asked, I think the guys told me back there, David and Nick, who were sort of processing that whole thing, putting it into different sound bites. They said there were about 20 questions answered. And Cam Ward does not give super long answers, but a lot of the questions were, hey, look like you struggled some out there. And those are very fair questions. That's what everybody is seeing, but that's just what the observers see. I thought he had some really interesting perspective there. He stayed very even keeled. He didn't get defensive about it.
No.
He also didn't say, well, what are you talking about? I lit it up. So he didn't have like a messed up reality of what we saw. But he said the offense is very mid right now. And he said it starts with me. He said we've got to get better, starting with me. My quick game, my protections, my accuracy, the tempo. He also said that it does feel like the defense is throwing a lot at him, but he wants it. He said, I want that. I want to have difficulty. And then the final thing I picked up on is with the sidearm throws, because we've seen some sidearm throws that hasn't gone well. And he said, I've been throwing those since I was 6 years old. And basically I'm going to keep throwing them. But it's like he's not fazed by what's happening out there right now. I think that's the right disposition to have.
Well, yeah, but he understands, I think, where he should understand that, yes, you've been throwing sidearms since elementary. You've been throwing sidearmed since college, high school. And you're going to continue to do it now. But the difference is these guys are much better at this level than they were at the previous level you were at.
That was a really good answer. question by Nick Suss, the way
Yeah.
he worded it. He says, how much is it, this is how you play, and how much is, I might have to adjust how I play because
Yeah.
this is the highest level in the world.
And I think, again, quarterbacks don't know what they don't know until they actually are in those situations. And he's going to learn that, yeah, I've been doing this for the longest, and I get it, but I have to, not that, because I think sometimes people in their mind, they think when a question is asked, they're thinking, oh, you want me to change my whole game. Like, you want me to change every, and in actuality, no, it's not that. It's, what are the little subtle things you're going to do or have to do in this league at this level that you got away with in college, throwing a football? Perfect example, today's practice. Low balls coming out, and defenders didn't even really have to reach their hand up high to knock them down. I understand that you don't want to change that part of him. You don't. But you want him to understand that you're going to have to adjust it a little bit. It's not that I'm asking you to change how you just have to adjust it a little bit, because this ain't college. I get it. But this ain't college, because there are a lot of people that have come and said, man, I did it in college. I should be able to do it in pro. They find out, oh, no, I can't do it. I got to adjust. Receivers, I go back to my experience. What I was doing in college, I found out very quickly I wasn't going to be able to do it in the pros. What I found out I couldn't do, I was doing in high school, I found out in college I couldn't do it.
That is for sure.
I couldn't do it. So even though I didn't change who I was as a player, I had to adjust and adapt to the level that I was at. I hope he's not one of those rookies that just thinks that I can do it. Like, no matter what, I'm not changing. He doesn't seem like one of those guys, because everything that I've heard, even today, he wants to learn, he wants to understand. But this is one of those things nobody's saying change your mechanics. But what we are saying is we're seeing too many batted balls.
Yeah, and there's got to be an adjustment.
Exactly. There just has to be an adjustment.
Let's leave it there, and we'll pick up this discussion with Jonathan Hutton when we come back from Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Good Titans talk on training camp is coming up. Stay tuned for the 12 o'clock hour. D-Mace, Vingen, Donick here on 102.5 The Game. We are broadcasting live, as always, from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen on vacation this week. He will be back with us on Monday. We continue to talk Titans training camp, and joining us is Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. So, Hut, I don't know if you got a chance to hear Cam Ward's press conference after practice today, but the theme was, and I think for everybody watching the practice, you're watching the struggles of a rookie quarterback. And I do think it's fair to say, based on what D-Mace is seeing and what a lot of people are seeing, they are trying to throw some things at him. They're trying to make it a little tougher. They're not trying to spoon feed him and make him look good for that reason. So give me your thoughts on how you think he's handling all this.
Well, I think, and my observation yesterday, which was his worst practice by everyone who's watched it every practice, Willie, I think he's handled it well. I think he's handled the offseason very well. What we don't know yet is how Brian Callahan is handling him behind the scenes, really. That's the crucial part, is the development factor now from the coaching to the player, because he's taking on a lot. I mean, it would be tough not to give a rookie quarterback a lot to chew on right now. New play clock, speed of the game, new offense, bigger players, faster players, and command of the offense at the NFL level as a rookie, where, there's really no competition. He's not feeling the heat over his shoulder. This is his show. I think he's handled it well. There's going to be bad days. There have to be in what's a bumpy road for a rookie in a first padded practice, where generally the defense has its day in many respects. With all that being said, now we see, how fast or how much they pump the brakes on things, but I don't think they have time to do that. They've got to get as many reps as they can for the guy. And I like the professional approach that he takes day in and day out. I don't think that's going to be a hindrance. I don't think he went home at 5:00. You know what I mean? Like I doubt that he wanted to do anything but go right back out to practice as soon as possible. I want that in my quarterback, and I like the leadership factors and the accountability that he takes with things.
Yeah, Willie and I were discussing, maybe what is the proper way to sort of, once your quarterback, because he's had, yesterday was bad, today was a little bit better, but he still had his moments.
Sure.
So we started to sort of talk about, well, when a quarterback has these consistent, moments where he's not good and the confidence is sort of waning, do you then as a coach sort of, the next practice, you taper it so it could be more friendly to the quarterback? I'm not sure if that's something that you would want to do in this situation, especially with Cam. You want to throw everything at him that you possibly can, because you understand that other teams, once they start playing you, they're not going to hold back either. So you might as well throw everything you can and allow him to adjust to what he's seen. And then you will know exactly what you got in the quarterback, because basically either he's adjusted and adapted to everything that you're throwing at him, or he's still having problems.
Mace, I don't slow down. I just stay on my calendar. Stay on schedule, because if you're going to make mistakes right now. Like let's just become teaching moments for him when he is soaking up everything that you want. Mechanically, I don't try to change the player that I drafted. But, there's batted balls that I see yesterday. There's certain things that you're like, okay, what am I seeing that's better than what I've seen in the past out there? Here's my observation, Mace. I see a quarterback who, for the most part, seems to be on time with the offense. I don't see a lot of pump fakes and padded. He's not batting the ball, looking around, not knowing where to go, jumping out of a pocket. I see interceptions. I see some bad throws. I see some good throws. I see some receivers who should, maybe make a catch or two. But I also saw a quarterback who was working a lot with the number 2 wide receivers too. They're working in a lot of guys with him. So in that respect, after one practice, albeit it's a bad one, I I don't want to overreact to the one practice or the two practices. I also want to see how they take and mold him from this moment. And I think they have a good mental makeup of a kid who's ready to at least give them a fair shot to do that and be very coachable.
Yeah, and he's going to have to understand that. Yeah, and because he spoke afterwards and he answered the question about the sidearm throws and the batted balls, because you saw a few out there the other day. There were more today. So, and he answered the question in a way like, listen, I've been throwing this way for the longest, and I get it. But I think what he has to understand that I don't think Caleb Williams understood last year is that you got to adjust. You just have to.
No doubt.
Because those plays you were making in college, you're going to be able to make a few of them, but they don't come around as often as they did in college, the way you ran around. And I think Caleb Williams he didn't figure that out none last year. But when you see that you've had, there were 3 batted balls, I believe, 3 or 4. When you see that, I think the thought process should be, how do I adjust? Not to say I can't do it anymore, but how do I adjust? Because the league is much better than the one that I came from.
Hey, let's also, it may speak to this for me.
Mm-hmm.
You'll do this much more eloquently than I will be able to describe it. The NFL and college football, the biggest difference to me are the hashes.
Mm-hmm.
The game in the NFL is played in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And college is sideline to sideline. That, to me, his game, that's the biggest adjustment from just padded practice in the NFL to a game in college. Anything is just playing things down the middle of the field compared to using my athleticism to go to the far side of the field if I need to, against I've got my top 2 receivers on one side against maybe their 3rd or 4th best defensive back. That's a vastly different matchup now for him. Mm-hmm. And in that respect, there's a clock adjustment to that too, where just sheer athleticism doesn't get it done. So, we'll see on the mechanics, but I'm not drafting a player that I have to change drastically. I'm drafting a player that is elite with what he has, a skill set that he brings to the league. And Cam's got that. Okay. Now it's up to them maximizing that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because to me, he has to learn that, and you're correct. Like, guys don't understand how much those hash marks mean.
A huge amount. Yes.
It's like in college, the hash marks are sort of like, just this big field. There's a wide side of the field. And
if you're on the left hash,
exactly,
you have a pasture.
Absolutely. And you take advantage of it. And it's hard for defenses to cover it.
Yep.
In the NFL, you're playing in a phone booth. That's just what it is. And
a transcontinental route is vastly different in the league because of that.
Exactly. So you have to adjust now that things have gotten a little bit more cluttered. That offensive line and defensive line, they're a little bit more stacked now. Whereas in college, it wasn't like that. You can throw a sidearm because you're throwing it about 30 yards to the sideline and ain't nobody going to knock it down. Well, in the NFL, it's not like that. And I think that's what he has to learn.
Defensive tackles now are collapsing the pocket at a rate that no one's seen before.
Yeah, and that's what he has to learn. Those things, not changing his mechanics, but tweaking them. Because you're right. If you got to change a quarterback's mechanics after he comes in the NFL, you shouldn't draft him.
Why'd you draft him? Yeah. Why'd you draft him?
Because it's going to take him a long time to get to where you want to now that all of his mechanics are changed.
And then throw in the play clock.
Mm-hmm.
The play call. Like there's a lot going on in his head. And just to start the segment, how I think he's handled it well. I really do.
Agree. I think the makeup that we've been hearing about has been tested here. And you may have heard that press conference. There were a lot of, they weren't like arrows and whatever you want to, everything thrown. But he was having some questions that had to do with struggles, right? And he didn't get defensive about it. And he owned up to it, but he also remained confident. And he fell back on principles, right? He referenced his dad and how hard, he said, all the answers to all these are with hard work, right? I did like that he fell back on that.
You know what else? I don't think the guy's been coddled at all.
Yes.
See, this guy doesn't show up with a group of people around him. There's no photographers.
That's very true.
There's no buzz even within his inner circle. So like it's just him. That's what really impresses me about him. He carries himself and he handles his business on his own. To me, that's a quality that is not noticed. It's just unsaid. You know, when you walk into a room and you just command, he just kind of has this little moxie about him where he doesn't need anyone to speak for him, and he doesn't need a crew of people with him to show that he's got the power. He's the king. I'm not comparing him to Shedeur here. That's just life in football right now, in sports. Everybody's got their clique. And to me, he hasn't been coddled to the point where he's leaning back on somebody for words of affirmation. That's a quality that I think carries him past some of the bumps in the road this year.
Yeah, I think that will serve him well. All right, we've talked so much about him. What if you had to name the number one other thing that has been noticeable to this point in training camp? What's jumping out at you?
Well, just the youth at receiver. And honestly, Willie, first padded practice is I'm not trying to jump ahead of everything because the defense is going to normally win that day. I just thought if not for the defense yesterday, Mace pointed this out last week, if not for the defense yesterday, for me, that would have been a very lackluster energy presence on that field. They don't have the kick in the ass right now. I don't know who provides that or what provides that, but there's got to be a little energy to it beyond a rookie quarterback who's having a bad day. There's no one talking a little trash. They're trying to, like, there's some guys out there that are trying to push some buttons, but I mean, it's just like, I don't want to manufacture anything here, but there needs to be some juice. I
agree.
There's no, that to me, that's just the second thing that pops up to me. There's a rookie quarterback, and then, okay, where's the energy? Where's the buzz? If it's a special teams practice and it's a one-on-one versus a D-line, O-line going on the other field, which field do I want to be on and watch? I can't tell you that right now because they all feel the same. So like there needs to be an instigator. You've got to have that guy. And, I don't know. We can't always look to Jeffrey Simmons to rub people the wrong way.
Right. It's a combination of people. It's a group, right? There are energy guys. It could be a coach. It could be an equipment guy. It could, there's a combination of a lot of ingredients that go into that.
Something,
and they're low in that area. I agree.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that they're soft. I'm not coming across this way. I'm saying they don't have that one locked in, like it's time to just go, and we're fed up with whatever. Like we're tired of the talk. I haven't heard that. I feel like it's more of a young team trying to find itself and looking to the coach to really provide the way, and knowing that they have a rookie quarterback who's going to take some time to progress. That's not like, to me, there's some veterans who just don't put up with that. Like, sorry, I don't have time here. We're here to win now. I'm tired of this. Let's go. Like, we're out here in the hot heat, like it's camp. I'm ready to hit somebody. I haven't seen that yet. So, and again, it's early. We'll see some joint practice work coming up. That's when I think the reality sets in, and maybe we see a team that comes out, as I like to say, pissed off for greatness. I want that factor on my side when I have a team that needs to have a chip on its shoulder. They need to find that chip.
We're talking to Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. You two, Hut, have a better sense of this, so I really want to get your perspective on this Boo Carter situation for Tennessee, because I think you guys have a better feel than D-Mace and I about what's brewing underneath the surface, right? We can talk about experiences we've had with a coach working with a leadership group to solve an issue of a talented player that's been on some level out of line, right? He's rubbed some people the wrong way somewhere in here. But what's happening here?
Man, Willie, that is a great question that I've asked myself, because this feels different than Nico altogether, right? What a way to start the offseason and then finish it going into camp than to have the two bridge marks here, like it bridges together. With the reports that the leadership council, and many didn't want him to be on the team. Some assistant coaches, according to reports, weren't all on board with it. Talent is needed. And here's the other thing too. It's not Nico from this respect. They gave him a bump in pay. They are playing him on offense. I don't think it's because other programs are sniffing around. Now's not the time to be doing that. So just because you're hearing Colorado wants him to be the next Travis Hunter, it's like, okay, he's at Tennessee, and Tennessee's allowing him to do that too.
Yeah. Why was he not at the workouts? If they're doing all this stuff,
that's the bizarre part. And here's the real question: does this play any factor in 4 weeks or 5 weeks when they take the field? Do we see that in their play at all with this team? Because I would say it's a pretty tight-knit locker room, top to bottom. It's pretty cohesive. The Nico thing, I think they have banded together to make sure they don't lose in that category. From coaches to players, they don't want Nico to win. That's the vibe I get. And if the reports are accurate that, a lot of the coach, Heupel was the leadership council, and Blue Card, they didn't want, but he's still there. It's like, okay, what's the vibe here? If he hasn't been around, and all of a sudden the players see him in the locker room and they're letting him know that he hasn't been around. I don't know that. And there's a different story to this that is just what we're discussing right now may honestly be just part of college football now for every team in some way.
Yeah.
And it's just the new reality of it, that this is just kind of commonplace. But there's a human factor to it behind the scenes, that when a team comes together and kicks off, does this carry over? Does it play a factor on on any sort of product that we see? And if it doesn't, that's credit to Heupel for making the right call with him. No doubt he makes them a better team. I mean, it just comes down to, hey, you play your best guys.
It's the toughest thing for a coach, especially given what happened with Nico,
that's right,
to really come down hard on a guy that's talented when you need talent to win.
And the timing of it too.
There's been many a coach on many a level that's buckled and said, "Well, just let him do what the heck he wants. We need him."
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. But ideally, you want to have him fall in line and learn lessons, and say, you know what, I've got to get with the group.
Because listening to y'all talk about UT, and this is what I've wondered, because the SEC is going to be a gauntlet, and we know it.
Sure.
Quickly before we get out of here.
Okay.
With their troubles at quarterback, now they're having this situation go down. Do you think Tennessee can be one of these programs that, I'm not saying just for this year,
yeah,
that they can potentially completely fall, off of whatever pedestal they're on, because they've been a relatively good team. Yeah, for the last 2 or 3 years, they've been a player. But this year seems different because of what has happened with the quarterback and some other guys, and guys leaving to go off to the draft, and guys transferring. This seems like a situation where Heupel may find himself only winning 5, maybe 6 games this year.
Could. But here's the thing: it's not if you lose, it's how you lose, Base.
Yeah.
So let me see how those games came about, and how the wins came about, who are they against, and because that does matter. But at the end of it, are they viewed like South Carolina was viewed at the end of last year? They didn't make the playoffs. South Carolina didn't, but South Carolina was viewed as a team on the ascent, like they got the most out of that roster. Okay. Heupel needs to do that with this group. And I mean, if it's true that they just evened out at quarterback after all of this, after the dust settles, that should be the baseline, right? Like this should show a lot from the Heupel coaching staff element. And I would also say, if they do, I don't want to say bottom out, but if they fall to that win total, they won't be there long, because Tennessee spends way too much money on their roster. They won't be one that holds back on that. They'll be aggressive. They have been in the NIL space. So I don't think that lasts too long, but it's also not a mulligan year for Josh Heupel. He would tell you that.
Yep. And the whole aggressive, I think, is becoming more of a how smart aggressive, right? As opposed to
right.
reckless aggressive. I think people are learning that aggressive is one thing, but aggressive
Yes.
can burn you if you're not smart about it. And I think everybody's going to learn from trial and error because we're so early in this process. Hut,
Yes.
really, really good stuff. And we'll talk to you again next week. Can't wait. We'll be in August next time. We're getting closer. The live
longest
ball.
month. The longest wait is the month of August.
Yes.
We
Yes.
haven't even the Hall of Fame game is just around the corner, Willie. Here we go. Buckle up.
Yeah, here we go. All right, Hut, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Yep.
Jonathan Hutton, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow. When we come back, we'll continue on with DVD. We'll get into a few more specifics of Cam Ward. And D. Mace had some great stuff there about the sidearm throws and adjusting. Let us know what you think. 615-737-1025. We're back with more DVD. DVD continues. Coming up at 1 o'clock, we are going to talk about NFL trade values of players. Just another way to sort of assess rosters in a creative way. Bill Barnwell, who does a great job for ESPN, another sort of analytic-based analyst, asked the questions, which players are worth a first-round pick on NFL rosters? We're going to hit that at 1 o'clock today.
That'll be interesting.
That'll be good, just to see where the Titans rank. And once again, when you have the first pick in the draft, you would have to hope that he's worth trading for a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And we have – and hasn't blown it in 2 days. I don't think he has. But that's a whole thing that we have discussed in terms of should they have used that pick or gotten more picks before they picked Cam Ward. But now that they have him, what does Bill Barnwell think Cam Ward is worth? So a lot going on here on the show as we analyze Titans training camp. Hey, don't forget, join 1025 The Game at the Holiday Inn Nashville Airport this Sunday from 1 to 5 for the Dude Perfect Inspired Open House. We'll be on site giving away Dude Perfect tickets and Nashville Sounds family 4-packs, as well as games, prizes, and body armor. So check that out this coming Sunday, 1 to 5. All right. Here's a couple of texts from our text line, 615-737-1025. David says, where was Will Levis at this time last year? It's a really good question. Now, remember, Levis was in his second year and had already played a number of games in his NFL career. So I think he was held to a higher standard last year. There's a different expectation, but it's still a good question. So what do you remember about what you were seeing from Levis at this time last year?
Oh, man, oh, wow. I think it was more or less this stuff. But you got to understand we're under, a different circumstance. Will Levis had a year up underneath his belt. He knew the speed of the game. He knew what to expect. And going through practice, I think it was sort of like this. But I think the problem with that was, well, Will, this is not your first camp. This is Cam's first camp.
Right.
So I know it's not even a new offense for you. It's the same offense.
Right. And yet I think part of me, and everybody watching is hoping to see a big difference.
Yes.
Because, Louis Riddick said it. He said there's a different level of prospect that Cam Ward is from Will Levis.
You can.
And so you're looking for that when you go out there, even though we watched, the question is comparing Will Levis in his second year to Cam Ward, who was just right off of the college fields, right?
Yeah. And okay, let me look at Will Levis his rookie year. And
he didn't get the starters reps. He wasn't handed the job.
He wasn't handed the job. He eventually got the job because of injury, but he wasn't handed the job.
They kept Malik Willis,
as
the backup.
But I think Louis Riddick is right. When you look at the two players and you look at how they go about their, sort of their routine or practice, they just don't look like one looked as if things were still just like a tornado in his brain. And he never just seemed settled. He never seemed just like settled. He always seemed like wired up, like wound up real tight. And the other guy just seemed so loose and so just, okay, I got this. I'm not getting overly, disappointed or excited because I made a play or didn't make a play. It's a part of the process. One seems like he understands there's a process and there's going to be mistakes. And the other doesn't quite think that at times. So that's, to me, the difference between those two. One walked on the field still a little hesitant, and the other walked on the field saying, I can do this. I know I can do this. What did Jared get upset with Cam Ward for? Because he had confidence. He had 10 out of 10. I got confidence. Well, I would rather have that than maybe a quarterback that's still a little bit hesitant.
Yeah, well,
You know, and Will
I
showed,
immediately think
and Will had confidence. I'm not saying Will didn't have. I'm just talking about in his play.
right, but I think we were watching very closely Will Levis's reaction and body language, and whatever it was was not. It gave you a little more worry, I think.
And I think we did have a preconceived notion of Will Levis when he got drafted. I think there was this, even though
Don Juan.
I think we all try to put it out of our minds, but all of the stuff they were saying about Will Levis, there was already this
the mayonnaise commercials,
exactly, him being wound up too tight and him being just, full of muscles and
something wasn't quite.
Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't. It was almost like he presented himself as a football player instead of a quarterback.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with being a football player, but man, we got to see the quarterback in you.
He kind of had that look at me attitude, kind of like.
See, that's all the stuff we sort of kind of, because of the draft process and everything, we had this preconceived notion about him.
Hutton makes a great point too, and I hadn't thought about this, that there's not an entourage around Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
He is all business, and he doesn't flinch, right?
No.
He has gone through the fire these last two practices.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question.
And there's going to be more to come.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more.
But I'm reminded of what Crash Davis tells Nuke Alush in Bull Durham. When Bull Durham gets called up to the big leagues, he goes, listen, they're going to light you up like a Christmas tree. He said, but basically tells him, just stay cocky. And cocky is the wrong word.
Stay confident.
Stay confident.
Stay confident in what you
do. Do not act like, oh my gosh, this is way over my head. Mm-hmm. Stay with it and just be yourself. And it was great advice. And I do see a little bit of that with Cam Ward. He doesn't look shaken. You can tell. You're looking at him because you're like, man, that's 3 or 4 straight players that have been not good. Right. And here's a good play. And then here's 2 more bad ones. And you're like, is he cracking? What's going on? But I like how he's handled it so far. And I love how he handled the press conference there.
Yeah, and those are some of the things that, that was spoken about him, the leadership qualities, him being even keeled, not being fazed by anything. He's just about business. Those are the things that were said about Cam Ward. You see the sort of the theme here. These are the things that were said about Cam Ward, but over here, these are the things that were said about Will Levis. These 2 things ain't alike. Neither one of them are alike. What I'm saying about Cam isn't what I'm saying about Will Levis. So now that this is what we have in our mind about Cam Ward, that's what we see. And maybe it could be to a detriment at times to him because, like we talked about the sidearm throws and whatnot, him in his mind thinking, man, I've been doing this forever. I'm not even worried about it. And then me as a former player thinking, man, I said some of those things too, like when I first got in the league, man, and I found out quickly that I had to adjust to how the league was coming at me. I had to adjust to it. So for Cam Ward, it may be so subtle that we don't see it, but they know what Cam he's doing, and then the coordinator / head coach figures it out. It may be something that subtle, but there are things he's going to have to change, or adjust a little in order to have consistent success. And we see it now. And if he doesn't change, if he doesn't tweak that his motion a little bit is from where he throws, he's going to continue to suffer from balls being batted down.
Yeah, we're going to hit that in the next segment. We're going to play you, if you missed it earlier, what he said about the sidearm throws. That's coming up in the next segment. One more text on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Cody says, was the energy down again in our opinion? I was there. I thought it was low again. That's Cody's text there.
Okay, we had a. Do you want to answer this after the break, Willie? Because we had a talk on the sideline.
Yeah, we did
about this,
and we were bouncing it off of everybody watching on the sideline, and I thought Jonathan Hutton weighed in without us really asking about it. I just asked an open-ended question, and he talked about this whole thing. So we're going to hit that when we come back as well. So stay tuned. Sidearm throws, a little more Cam Ward stuff, and the overall energy at Titans practice. Stay tuned. We're coming back with more of DVD.
Your outlook on, maybe to put it one way, like failures and things not going well being part of your process. How do you see that? Sorry. In terms of, whether tip balls or whatever it is, how do you view those kind of like failures as part of your process?
It's not really failure. I work hard every day. So at the end of the day, I think I'll get to my end point where I want to get in football. I just think it's not even a learning point. I've been throwing sidearms since I was 6 years old. I had tip balls in high school, college. I had tip balls here in practice. I'm going to have a tip ball during the season. So I'm not real worried about that. It's about how you bounce back the next play. You just got to, keep on stacking good plays on top of each other.
If there was ever a Titans training camp question, wasn't that it? The lawnmower behind, zooming around. We've had many a interview short-circuited by the mower in the post-practice.
Yes.
That's just the
part
way
of it.
Football practices, baby.
But then right after that, it was a really good question for Cam Ward and an insightful answer, but also, D-May, something that you noted is part of the learning process, because that's where the question was coming. These tip balls, and there was a number of them today, especially with some sidearm throws. And this is where the balance of using the talent that got you there and having the confidence that you'll be able to do it at the highest level is also counteracted by, these are the best players in the world. So how do I need to adjust?
I didn't, and again, this is just me, and I wanted to preference that this is me. This is how I look at sports, and I look at this game a lot different, and I look at certain things a lot different. When he said it's not a what did he say? It's not a learning curve for me.
He said it's not really.
It's not a. He
said it's not really a failure.
No, but he did say it's not a learn. He said something in regards to it's not a learning curve for him, or it's not something like it to that fact. Then I will listen to it again to make sure I get the wording right. But with that being said, that to me, because you, as humble as he seemed to be, there's still that arrogance in there. And
which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing.
So he said it's not a learning point for me.
It's not a learning point for me.
Okay.
When it should be a learning point for you. In this game, again, this is the NFL. And I've seen plenty guys, even myself, be humbled because you walk in and you think one thing, well, I can do that. You have the confidence, yes, it's there, but then you realize like, oh man, but it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Those first couple of days was kind of a facade. It was kind of yeah, I'm just showing you a little bit. Let me get my feet wet. But now, ever since those first 2 days, this thing's starting a little bit different. Now I got to adjust to what they're doing. So every moment you step out on that field, it's learning. It's learning, how do I become a better pro? How do I remove myself from the college game and become a pro now? Every day you step out on the field, it's a learning process. And I think because of his confidence and the arrogance that you have to have, I believe, especially at that position, I think sometimes you can come off as if, that doesn't mean anything, which I know it does mean something to him. But and I think he will understand this, that, listen, I know you believe in your talent so much, and you should, but believing in your talent doesn't mean you can't adjust some of the things that you're doing out there on the field, especially when you're talking arm angles and trying to get around these big guys when you're throwing the football. These holes are tighter, slimmer, and at times they're not there, and you got to force it through there. But you got to understand there's a learning process to all of this. You don't know all the answers. And the minute you think you know all the answers, you're not going to be in this league. I'm not saying that's Cam, but he does have to understand that, man, there is some things I need to learn, especially when it's delivering the ball, because a lot of our stuff is going to be quick game and they're going to be in my face. So I got to learn sometimes to throw over a guy as opposed to trying to sidearm it to a guy. And I believe he will. So I'm not too worried about it right now. If it continues, Because we don't want to be one of those quarterbacks that, yeah, you're a starting quarterback, but I'm gonna tell you what the profile on him will be if balls continue to be knocked down. This is going to be the profile. This is what we got of every defensive player at the beginning of the week. This guy's such and such. This is what he like to do. This is what he don't like to do. He's good at this. He's bad at this.
Right.
So they break it down. Whatever. What
Tendencies.
tendencies. What they're going to say for Cam Ward? He tends to throw the ball low. Get your hands up.
Yeah.
You're going to knock down more balls than what you think. If you don't get to the rush, if you don't get to, just throw your hands up, because he's known to throw more side
Low arm angles.
low arm angles throws. This is what they're going to pick up. They're writing it right now. No lie. No, Willie. No lie. There are people that probably sit around in every organization and just watching the other teams' social media and what they're putting out, and everything else. So they're writing a book on Cam Ward already. Some things that he may be doing in camp early, and they want to see, well, are they still talking about those things? Or do we still see him once preseason? Because if Denver's paying attention to him right now, they are. Even though they're practicing and getting them, they are paying attention to him, and they are listening. And when they get a chance, they're going to be able to watch his preseason games. And if he still have balls batted down, okay, he throws. He hasn't learned yet that he needs to change his angle just a bit. So we may be able to knock down more balls than what we thought.
It's a big thing. They will attack your weaknesses, and they will know you as well as you can possibly scout.
That's why I said you can't go out there and
highest
say,
level.
Yeah, that's why you can't go out there and
like
say
a
it's
batter.
got to learn.
It's like a pitcher that throws 100. Okay, that's great. But if they'll say struggles to get the breaking ball over, it's the same type of process.
Exactly.
And they will exploit you if you aren't constantly trying to get better. But I did hear that theme throughout Cam Ward. He kept saying, I've got to get better. And he used some examples. The overall question was asked, how do you think it's gone so far? And he said the offense has been mid, very mid, and it starts with me. And so
for people that don't know what mid or very mid means, that's not
it's
good.
a teenager.
Yeah,
It's not good. It's not good. I'll let you guys know. The young kid.
You don't want to be that. You don't want to be that.
Exactly. You don't want to be mid.
I've been told by my kids that my wardrobe at times was mid. Like, what do you think of this shirt?
Mid.
But
you mean, oh, Dad, you mean you're fit?
So that's
Dad,
good.
you're fit. Your fit is mid. My fit? What is fitness? Yeah, I jogged today. No, you're fit. Your outfit. It's
the
mid.
outfit, man.
Yeah,
It's
kinda
mid
mid
right now.
It's kinda mid.
The fit is mid right now. So
And me, I was like, well, hey, that's not bad.
Yeah.
But you kind of don't want to be mid.
Yeah,
though.
you don't want to be
I want to be better than mid.
you don't want to be mid around the kids. You want to be extremely not mid.
All right, so let's talk about the energy at practice, because that's another theme, an underlying theme of, and it's intangible. So what it really means at the end of the day, I don't know, but I do sense it. I do sense it. I still would like to see a few more of the ingredients of what you're looking for in a preseason practice. Who's adding the enthusiasm? Who's adding the fun energy? Who's adding the intensity? Who is keeping the energy level up? And these could be players. It could be coaches. It could be some kind of staff, the equipment guy.
Yeah.
Just there's a lot that goes into it. And I think there's
Takahashi, you do it.
Yeah. There's all these guys that contribute at the beginning of a practice to the end of the practice and at the end, you're like, man, that was hard, but man, there was energy. Yeah.
And we're talking about it because frankly, there were other people on the sideline mentioning it. Like, man, this is like, and I don't really, and this is what I was, you and I were talking about it. And I'm like, well, I don't know if it's the music. Is it the music?
It is different. I've never heard a team have music playing throughout the whole.
Why don't they just treat it like a game? Play the music when they go in the huddle, when they break in huddle, or once the play is done, when they're coming in and get ready to break, cut the music off.
That's a
or
good
just
idea.
play a crowd noise. Play crowd noise.
It's like a restaurant, right? The or any kind of establishment that's going to dictate what environment, what atmosphere you're creating, right? If you want loud music playing, then it's like a dance place, right?
Exactly.
And so you're going in, and some people might be like, well, I can't really have conversation with you here, so this isn't a great place for us. But some people might be like, yeah, this music's bumping. Let's go. Let's dance. So the volume that you play
Mhm.
does dictate what atmosphere you're
energy or the
creating,
atmosphere
right?
you're
So
creating.
the music at times is so loud you can't really
It's
hear the
drowning
energy. It's drowning out.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's drowning everything. So that would be my advice to those that are in control of the music choices. Turn it down when they're on, when the play is going, shut it off, play crowd noise, and then once the play has stopped, play the music like they do in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a you have a small, you have a screen out there that's trying to give the fans, if they can't see, they can look at the screen. You're giving them sort of trying to give them a real game type experience. Well, give them the real game type experience with the music. Don't play it all practice.
Yeah.
But again, we go back to the energy. I'm not gonna say the energy was completely like there was not. It just, and again, maybe it was the music, but it just didn't, like the last couple of days. It just didn't seem like there's something missing. I don't know what it is. There's something missing. Maybe because I'm used to like guys like Byard, being that guy, or some other guy on offense, being that guy, whether it's Taylor Lewan or someone else. And I beat Taylor Lewan up, so many times, telling him just stick to football. But you need what Taylor was giving, like that energy he was giving. That's the one thing that I loved about him. He was a good player, really good player. But I love that energy he gave. They need somebody like that to give them that
the straw
energy.
that stirs the drink, right?
Because you
Some
always,
straws.
yeah,
They need
you
some straws.
always notice like Taylor or Byard in practice, because it was not like they were, but they always tried to keep the tempo and the energy up amongst the team. Because you got to understand, once the energy goes down, man, practice becomes
Especially
flat.
in the heat.
Exactly.
In the heat like that.
Practice become flat. The heat. It's just like, well, we need somebody that's one of these leaders that's going to make sure that things are amped up, 24/7, not necessarily 24. I don't literally mean 24/7, but I'm saying out there on the field, it needs to be ramped up. There needs to be that energy. So that's the last time I'm gonna talk about it because we brought it up because there were other people that were mentioned.
And we just said we had a texter
Yeah.
that wanted to ask about it. All right, when we come back, we're going to shift gears. We'll continue to talk football, but we're going to talk, where do the Titans fit in this question? Evaluating their roster, which players are worth a first-round pick in trade value? Bill Barnwell broke down the whole league with this, and it's really interesting because we've talked about where the Titans roster is, how far it needs to go. If you want to join us, remember you can always hit us on the phone or text line 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Stay tuned. We're coming back with hour number 3 of DVD. It's hour number 3 of DVD on 102.5 The Game. Don't forget our continuing coverage of Titans training camp is presented by Macero in 12 South and Parman Energy Group. Lots of coverage today. D-Mace and I were at practice once again today. A lot of different themes have come out. Later in the hour, we're going to hear from Peter Skoronski. We're going to hear a little bit of what he had to say with Chase and Big Joe earlier today. A very important player at a very important position group, the offensive line. We've talked a lot about Cam Ward, but the offensive line is going to tell a big part of the story for this team. And speaking of that, the value of the roster is huge as people evaluate who's got what. Remember, the Titans have the number 1 waiver wire position.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, they have access to whoever the best player in the league is that gets cut. They have first dibs. So that is a way that they are constantly evaluating not only their roster, but everybody else's roster. So one measure that Bill Barnwell from ESPN took is what players are worth a first-round pick. And we know this, D-Mace. We follow a lot of sports. You love the NBA. I love the NBA. What does the NBA have, maybe more so than any other sport? They have blockbuster trades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blockbuster trades. We just saw Luka Doncic, right? The NFL never has trades like that. You don't see a star in his prime get traded like that. It's extremely rare. I can't think of the equivalent. You can think of a lot of blockbuster NBA trades. Other sports, I think, are way ahead of football in that, but it's not conducive to that. So with that in mind, knowing that none of these players will ever get traded for a first-round pick, what Bill Barnwell basically did was say, let's just still put a value on what could you get for certain players. Because with the Titans, there is a player that I think is important to discuss in this context. So here's how he did it. He had each team in the league, and he said, what players could get 2 first-round picks in a trade? What players on a roster could get 1 first-round pick? And what else do they have? What's missing out? So when it got to the Titans, they think there's one player that could have 2 first-round picks in return, and it's Cam Ward. And we know this is true because they could have gotten the Giants' first pick, which is the 3rd overall, and next year's first-round pick. So there's your 2 first-round picks. And there were other assets thrown in there, other picks. But this is what he says about Ward. It feels a little like Ward was the first overall pick by default in April, which might be unfair to a player who was good last season, as good as last season as he was. The Jaguars were presumably willing to send the same picks they sent to the Browns to the Titans to move up to take Travis Hunter with the top pick. And the Titans presumably weren't willing to take that offer. So he's talking about the Jaguars, and he doesn't even mention the fact that we know the Giants did. So the Titans believe that Ward was worth more than 2 first-rounders. I'd say that's a fair price for a pretty good quarterback prospect, and we'll see where he lands after this season. So this lays down the gauntlet of what we've talked about a lot. I don't want to bring it up today, but I still think they should have taken the extra assets. Now, players on the Titans that are worth 1 first-round pick, according to Bill Barnwell, there's one guy. It's Jeffrey Simmons. Here's what he says about Simmons. Still one of the most underrated players in all of football. He might be the NFL's most slippery 305-pounder. In addition to being excellent against the run, he's created 16.5 sacks for himself and his teammates over the past 2 seasons. Now, that's an interesting stat. And remember, this is an analytics thing that he doesn't go into detail on. But Simmons has created 16.5 sacks for himself and his teammates over the past 2 seasons. That ranks 4th among defensive tackles over that stretch. Injuries have cost the 28-year-old a handful of games over the past 3 years. So as good as Simmons as at his best, it's tough to place him higher than this tier. So trading Simmons for a first-round pick, this is another thing that there's a big difference between a first-round pick that's the 30th pick and a first-round pick that's the 5th pick, right? There's a wide gap in that. But when you hear that first, Is that about right for Simmons, or do you think he's worth more than just one first-round pick? Or would you have to consider? Because I
would
do
try
think
to
they will
get
be faced
more.
with the question of, are we better off trading Jeffrey Simmons at some point?
Okay, Jeff is what, 27 years old, 28?
28.
28. And listen, I'm just going by what the execs. I'm not going by what PFF said or anybody else said. I'm going by what the executives and coaches, have said about Jeffrey Simmons. They still consider him a top 10 prospect or a top 10 player at his position. They still consider, what is he, 9th? Somewhere around there, maybe a little bit higher than that. So if the people that are in the know and that watch these things and study these things, if they still believe he's a top 10, top 7 player, then, the Titans are going to have to, make a decision, with Jeffrey, because I would, if say for instance, if I was looking to move Jeff, I'm almost thinking I got to get more than just a first-round draft pick. I do, because I don't think he's reached his prime yet. He's entering into his prime now. Last year was an off year for him, but I think he's still sort of ascending as a player. So if this guy is still ascending and we've saw some great things from him already, that tells me if I'm looking to trade, I want more than a first-round draft pick now.
And consider, if you trade him now maybe before the season, that would be really bold. Nobody's getting any sniff that they're even thinking about this. But if you wait until the trade deadline and you say, well, hey, our season's not going very well, we're further behind than we thought. We're a long way from winning. We got our new stadium open up in a couple years, and when that opens up, Jeffrey Simmons will be 30 and probably not worth what he's worth now. Definitely not worth what he's worth now. Are we really going to be any good between now and when the stadium opens up? We can lose. So this is what I think they could face. But if let's say that's your offer at the trade deadline. A team offers their first-round pick for Jeffrey Simmons. What do we probably know about that first pick that they would get? It's from a team that's trying to win right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, by definition, going to be a lower half of the first-round pick.
Yeah,
so that's
it'd be a bottom 15 pick.
Which is why I think this past summer I was saying they should consider seeing what they could have gotten before the season started.
I'm sure somebody probably called them about Jeff. And
so I would hate to see Jeffrey Simmons play on some bad Titans teams, do some really good things, and then by the time they get good again, he's not the same player, or they've had to move on because he's making a lot of money. That could happen. And so he would be an asset that is not. Now, best case scenario, there's kind of a Jarrell Casey, right? Who was, when Jeffrey Simmons came into the league, Jarrell Casey was towards the end of his career. He played on some really bad teams, but he was able to experience. He stayed around long enough. He wasn't dominant, but he was a useful player, a veteran player on a good team. That's best case for Simmons.
Here's the problem. Here's the issue with Simmons in this situation. Jarrell Casey had been through his contracts. I think he was on his last contract, his last big one. Now he went. I think he ended up. Didn't he go play somewhere else for a quick minute, or he may have? That may have.
I feel like he tried. It didn't last for like maybe I think of the Broncos.
It may have been out west somewhere. But then again, it may not. But I think the issue here is you could do that with Jeff. You could do that with Jarrell Casey because he was basically at the end with you. You had already signed him to a bigger deal, and that deal was one more
year with the Broncos. Jarrell Casey.
Said it. Yep. So that
and he played only 3 games.
That was a little bit different than Jeffrey Simmons, because Jeffrey Simmons is still he's still a dominant player, and this is his contract year. So you got to make a decision on, like you said, first you would have thought about this earlier. Should we trade him? Because eventually we're going to have to pay him again. So should we trade him now, get a first round and possibly something else and kind of go that route? Or do we just keep him and try to work out a deal after the season to keep him here to retire?
there's been zero buzz about this.
No.
And Jeffrey Simmons, unlike last year, he has not created any kind of stir or anything, right? He's just playing right now. And he is keeping his, there's not been any drama.
It'll come out versus Tampa in Atlanta,
Okay.
where it needs to come out.
But I really think it's a question that I wonder behind the scenes, are they shopping him around at all? And just the idea of, look, we made the pick for Cam Ward. We passed up on a lot of different assets that we could have gotten for that pick. We believe in Cam Ward. So where do we get the extra picks that we're looking for? And they've said they're looking for. They've been on the record as saying we need a certain amount of picks in the top 100 over the next 3 years. Well, you're not going to get them unless you wheel and deal a little bit. And so this article about the value of your roster says a lot, because the next 3 guys that they talk about, the only other 3 guys on the roster they talk about trade value, they do not think you could get a first-round pick for. And that is J.C. Latham, Peter Scruggs. We had a text on our text line asking about Latham specifically. They say that Latham led all linemen in sacks allowed last season per NFL Next Gen Stats. He's been moved from left tackle to right tackle. If he excels there, he could be back in first-round range. And remember, J.C. Latham is only 22 years old. So I do think that at some point he would be worth a first-rounder in a trade, but he's not a guy you're going to trade. He's so young. You're looking to develop him. Skoronski, here's what they say about him. Being able to play tackle at the pro level was the initial chatter, but he hasn't established himself as even above average guard through 2 seasons. And there's varying evaluations of Skoronski. He definitely has had his struggles, but he's had some stretches of very good play. He grades out well in some categories. There's time for him to develop. He's still young as well, Skoronski. But the hope with first-round linemen is that they'll step right into the starting lineup and hold their own. So right now, they don't evaluate Skoronski as a guy that could fetch you a first-round pick, just their evaluation. And then there's Meatloaf is the other guy, a second-round pick who was very good as a rookie nose tackle, but he would need to do more against the pass to be the kind of value that Simmons has, right?
Yeah,
so we'll see.
He's not going to have the value that Simmons has because
he's a different
type of player. He's not giving you what Jeffrey Simmons is giving you, and you understand that. You didn't draft him because he was Jeffrey Simmons' clone. You drafted him because he plays a little bit different than Jeffrey Simmons, but they can play well together. So he's not going to command, a first-round pick, maybe not even a second-round pick, honestly, if you think about it. And that's right now. I'm not talking about what he will eventually become. I'm just saying right now, if there was a trade, I'm not trading away my second for your last year's second. I'm not doing that. I'll give you a third.
Yeah, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how those guys are evaluated. Those 3 guys you're hoping to build around. Simmons is at a different stage of his career, and we have a number of texts on Simmons.
Yeah.
615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joey says, if another team showed any interest at all in Simmons, I would consider it. The Titans wouldn't be missing out on much at all if they did. I don't think he's worth the first rounder. Well, I think you're wrong there. And the only reason you would want to trade him is that you would get
first round.
I think a first rounder and then other stuff too. I would want multiple picks.
If they're offering second,
especially with the team. I got to consider who's offering me the pick. I don't want a low. I'd rather have an upper half first round pick.
Exactly.
Projecting. You can't guarantee these things. Matthew in Nashville says trade him while he's still under 30.
See, here's because I think this is a theme that we may be going down, the road we may be going. Trade away Jeffrey Simmons. Trade away Jeffrey Simmons. I don't think now they may do that at some point. I don't know. I don't think they will, but you just don't trade away good players like that. Just trade them away. I think you try to sign him to a new deal because I think Jeff, as long as he's playing, he's going to give you good play. Now you expect his play to be elite play right now. And we saw it 2 years ago. We didn't see it last year, so hopefully we see it this year. But Jeffrey's always going to be a good player. You don't trade away guys like that can give you like 10 years that they don't have to worry about you or that position. That's where the Titans are at. This is an opportunity for them to allow an individual that has developed within your organization, allow him to, if he plays well this year, sign him back, allow him to retire here. Because if he plays well this year, that tells me he's earned the right to stay on this team, and don't trade him. That's just me.
It would all depend on
Yeah.
what I know about what his trade value is. In my mind, if you could get a first rounder and some other assets, I would say it's worth doing. It's worth trading him. Here's some other takes on our text line. Simmons will be traded. Simmons will be traded by the trade deadline, especially if the Titans are having a losing season. The problem is I don't know that you get top dollar at the trade deadline. Unless you can get teams competing for him, then maybe you've got something. But it just seems like, especially with his price tag, it's not always easy to work out the logistics of fitting him into the cap during the season. Ron says, isn't the goal for the opening of the new stadium to be young, competitive, and ready to make a run? So keeping Simmons would not be the goal for being young and competitive. I hate to say it, but the Titans need to be a young team that can grow together. Simmons would not be in the window there. I see that take. I understand that. Andy says keep the young ones. Yes, they're gonna keep Ward, Latham, and Skoronski. We know that. It's just interesting that this is how they evaluate those guys. Caleb says, as of right now, Jeff is the best player on the Titans. You don't trade your best player unless you plan on being bad for a while. Well, I don't know if they plan on being bad for a while. They've already been bad for a little bit, and they're probably going to continue to be bad for the next year or two is the reality. So how do you get better? It's not going out and buying players. You can't do it that way. You got to draft players.
Yeah, you do. So you just don't. And that's why I say you don't. It's hard for me to, especially where this team is at, Willie. They don't have as many. They don't have a lot of good players as it is.
Right.
And if you trade away one,
That's
I
the
understand.
dilemma.
Yeah,
That's the
I
dilemma.
understand. You'll probably get your assets you get back, but this is an unknown asset that I'm getting. I know what I'm getting out of Jeffrey Simmons. It's going to be a good play, good to great play. So it's hard to trade away a good to great player just for the sake of, hey man, he may not be in our plans once we get in the new stadium, or he may not be able to grow with Cam Ward. Well, let's keep him on the team until we figure that out. But right now is not the time, because
Another question
still can help us.
Another question on the text line. Does Simmons want to be here anyway? He might want to go to a team that could give him a chance to win a Super Bowl sooner.
It may end up like Derrick Henry. That's what it may end up. Like, you really don't want to go.
But they didn't trade Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't trade Derrick Henry. They thought about it, but
They
then they were
did.
like, no, we're not doing it. They may think about it during the season if their season is not
that
going
would,
well.
That would be what I would say would. And look, when they had Derrick Henry and Derrick Henry was in his prime, they kept him when they thought they could win. There was a window there, and he was about the same age, right? But running backs tend to age quick, where they might.
But
they weren't going to get a first round pick, but
they were able to do it because they had Ryan Tannehill.
But he
Tannehill
goes
was
and
proven.
he's still a huge star in the league, and they got nothing for him. I would hate to see that with Simmons.
Yeah, I get that part. But I think Simmons originally this is not his last year. This is like he has one more year after this.
Right, and remember, there's a whole lot of money tied to. He's
so
had
they
a huge,
want
had
to
a
try
huge
to
signing bonus.
I know this is really like the contract year, because you don't want to go into a last year of a guy's deal that's been playing really well and he's under 30. So that's why I'm putting so much emphasis on this year being a contract year, because next year, if you don't get a contract done this year, next year the price goes up.
Yeah. So there is, according to Spot Rack, what they do is they will pinpoint certain years where you can get out of the deal, and they have a potential out after this year where you could get out of it for a $9.6 million dead cap hit. So in a sense, when you have that, what you're saying is true. It is kind of a contract year. You're going to have to address this after this year either way. So I do think part of addressing it is finding out what he would be worth in a trade. So a lot of people are weighing in on this. If you want to keep going, text us or call us, 615-737-1025, our call and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk more Jeffrey Simmons when we come back, and also we'll hear from Peter Skoronsky and his conversation earlier today with Chase and Big Joe. You're listening to 102.5 The Game. Moving forward here on DVD, Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Don't forget Nashville's best deal this week is Prince's Hot Chicken, Nashville's original hot chicken, bursting with heat and flavor. There's nothing better than the original. For a limited time, grab half off a $25 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. We're talking about Jeffrey Simmons' trade value. Bill Barnwell from ESPN thinks you could get a first-round pick. He is under the general category, and I stress general because everybody's different, but worth a first-round pick in a trade. And I think when you get down to it, you would hope you could get more than just that one pick. You could get other things in there. And we're just floating that out there. Is this something the Titans should consider? We got a lot of reaction on our call and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's go to Luke. He says, yes, they should trade Big Jeff. Luke, tell us what you think.
I think that your options with Jeff are pretty open. But if you can't make a short-term deal with him, I don't think you should sign him to a long contract. I don't think you should get 6-7 years of this, maybe like a 2-3 year deal. If you can't do that, you have to trade him. You have to move him in the middle of the season. Just like you said, going towards the end of the season, it just doesn't work. And you could get the value that you need right there. I say you have to move him. He doesn't seem happy since we traded A.J. Brown. He really doesn't seem happy now since we've traded Henry. I just think you got to move him.
We did have a texter text and said, hey, they traded away A.J. Brown, so you can't just brush this off. I think the timing that Luke brings up is worthwhile because I think you could still hang on to him and still try to trade him next offseason. But I think your value, unless he has a great year this year, in which you could gamble, and if he has a bounce back year, then maybe his trade value would be a lot higher. But at the same time, then you might be inclined not to trade him. But like you said, you got to address his contract.
Yeah, you got to address it no matter what.
So I don't think you have to do it at the trade deadline or lose him, right? You can keep him. You have his rights. You just have to address his contract probably or pay him.
He's under
an
contract.
Yeah,
he is under contract for the next 2 years, but we understand how this game works. That if you are a player like Jeffrey Simmons, you got 2 years left on your deal. It's really one, because you don't want to go into that last season having to play out that deal. What you usually do is take that last year, you just extend the contract. That's all. You take that last year, add it in with some new money, give him a signing bonus or whatnot, and there be his new contract. So, yes, this is indeed, the year where you got to make a decision on Jeffrey Simmons, whether to keep him or not. And some people right now are saying it may be better to trade him. And I know why that is being said, because that roster is just not good. And fan base is trying to find, outside of Cam Ward, the fan base is trying to find how can they get their roster good immediately. And that's one of the ways to trade one of your guys to then get draft assets.
And you got to make the right picks with the picks that you get. But that's really the only way you can build a roster is through the draft. You cannot build a roster through free agency. Texter says, trade him. You missed out on getting a haul for Henry. Get value while you can. This team isn't winning anything right now. Tommy on our text line says, hell no. Do not trade him. The last thing this team needs is another hole. And players like him at his position don't fall off trees. Absolutely, in all caps. Absolutely no. I'm okay with the all caps text. Some people are like, why are you all capsing me? Don't do that to me. Why are you yelling at me? I'm not yelling. I'm just putting emphasis on the caps.
I'm trying to emphasize.
I think it's effective. I like people to know where I'm coming from on text.
You like to yell at everyone.
Yeah. I was yelling reading this guy's text. Another texter says, he gone.
Yeah.
You would think that this would be more of a topic. It's really not a topic. When you watch NFL Today or NFL Insiders, all of the national shows, they don't hit this.
Because Jeffrey hasn't made a stink about it, and rightfully so. I don't think that's not his priority right now. He's not looking to, cause a fuss. But he understands too that this is his last year. Really, this is like the year. Look at the things he's done. He slimmed down. He stayed away from the building. He was working with his own people, even though I know he was doing that last year, but he put more of an emphasis toward it this year. and he talked about getting his body right and everything else. This because he understands that this may be the last year as a Tennessee Titan, and he needs to make sure that he's not dealing with any ailments from a prior injury, and that he's in the best shape of his life, and to have the best season that he's had thus far. Because if he don't, in his mind, he's probably leaving money on the table. And if he don't, then the Titans are not going to be as good as I know they expect them to be. Because if Jeffrey Simmons ain't playing at a level that we've seen him play, meaning at elite level, we're gonna see the effects of that, and it's not going to be good.
That's why his trade value is likely to go down once he's entering into this stage of his career where it's not getting easier to stay healthy. It's getting tougher to stay healthy, especially considering the last couple years in particular have had some injury issues. Another texter says, the question is, quote, is he happy here? If not, then move him while you can get a return.
Well, I mean, I don't know if Jeffrey's happy. It seems like he's happy here. Again, he hasn't made, outside of the whole first contract, I mean, his second contract of his rookie's contract. But beside that, I think he's only shown that he wants to be here. So I don't think he's by any means disgruntled, even though I think this is his contract year. I still don't believe he's like disgruntled and don't want to be here. I think he wants to be here.
And if you missed it earlier, why are we talking about this? We just had a caller, a texter, Sonny, saying, is this some Adam Schefter kind of thing? It's not. It is an article by Bill Barnwell that just simply took all 32 teams and listed the players that would have a trade value of at least a first-round pick or more. And Jeffrey Simmons is on that list for the Titans. And it is on a roster that is fairly barren of players that have trade value, especially players that you would consider trade. You're obviously not going to trade Cam Ward.
No.
You're obviously not going to trade Latham and Skoronski at this stage of their career, or T'Vondre Sweat. Those are the guys that have value, but they're so young. You're trying to build those guys around those guys. They really don't have anybody else that has the value that Simmons has. And the fair question to ask is Jeffrey Simmons going to be a part of the next really good Titans team? Especially with the money he's paying, are you better off getting more picks or sticking it out with Simmons and hoping that your roster comes around him? I think it's much more easy to at least ask and find out what he's worth in a pick. It's also fair, I think, to look at some of these other teams in comparison. Here are a couple other teams. Let's just take the Titans, who are at the bottom of the league, and let's take a team at the top of the league in Philadelphia. They just won the Super Bowl. So let's compare the players on that roster that you could get a first-round pick for. Well, they have Jalen Carter and Jalen Hurts as two players that they think are worth not one but two first-round picks each. So that kind of leverage. So Jalen Carter, they have, who's young, he's quite a bit younger than Jeffrey Simmons. They think is worth, Bill Barnwell anyway, is worth two first-round picks. Simmons only worth one at the same position, essentially, defensive tackle. One first-round pick and more. They have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, their offensive tackle, Jordan Mailata, cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. They have those guys that are worth not only just a first-round pick, but more. A straight-up first-round pick. They have Cooper DeJean, corner. Landon Dickerson, guard. So that's a longer list of players, but we're talking about a Super Bowl team here. But see, we see where the Titans need to get. They need to get their roster to a point where they have a lot more players that have much more value. It's just they didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about the Titans because they just don't have a lot of guys. That's why Simmons is such an important thing to discuss. I think they should be talking about it. All right. With that in mind, any final thought on this?
No. I was just saying.
But you're hesitant. I can tell.
Yeah, I can.
You've always been hesitant.
I understand.
You don't want to do it.
I hear everything.
Say do it.
Yeah, I hear everything you're saying, but it's hard when you are a team. If they had, if this was in like the Jeffrey Simmons and Jarrell Casey situation, If there was a Jeffrey Simmons behind Jeffrey Simmons, if y'all stand with me here, then I would be more inclined to say, hey, yeah, let's do the trade. Even though he's still a good player, but we got another player that potentially could be just as good or even better than him. So we can afford to either release him or trade him. They don't have that now. I mean, we have Devondre Sweat's there, but again, he's a different type of player than what Simmons is. Simmons has put himself physically in a position where he can play across the line of scrimmage now. He can play D tackle, he play D end. You can stand him up because he's become that versatile up front, or at least that's what they're hoping now that he's dropped some weight and seems a little bit different from what he was last year. So if they had a guy like that behind Jeffrey Simmons, then I would say, Willie, hey, go get as much, but they don't have him.
All right, what factor is this? I just was sent a Paul Kuharsky tweet here, which is sharing that he has changed agents. Jeffrey Simmons went small with a different agent when he got his last giant contract, and that was a big deal. But he's going a lot bigger now with Todd France and Athletes First. In fact, the Todd France, they just put it out there. Welcome to the family, Jeffrey Simmons. So is that a factor at all? And
when did he just do that? When did that happen?
I don't know.
When was that tweet? Was it? It wasn't today, was it?
Let's see.
If it was,
it looks recent, very recent.
I thought he changed his agent. Well, if he's changed his, if now it's coming out that Jeff has changed agents, there's a reason why he's done it. We all know. He believes this agent that he's getting will get him more money this year. Like he will get his new contract with this agent this year.
So that is also something that can affect the leverage the team has to trade.
It was 3 hours ago. They just posted
so
he's
just
ago.
he's just done that. Just happened. So it's ironic that
we're talking
about trades, and then all of a sudden now it comes out that Jeff has hired a new agent. You don't hire a new agent unless you're getting ready to go on a contract year. I'm telling you that from past experience. You're not hiring a new agent unless a new contract is on the horizon. That's when, or you feel a new contract is on the horizon and it's warranted.
And in fairness, you've been saying that they're going to have to address this contract because I think I know in my mind for a while, it's like, well, they're already paying him a boatload. It's just a matter of whether they he's not a guy that you cut, but he is a guy. It's not like Landry, right? Where they were like, hey, he makes a lot. He's still good, but he's making too much. So let's cut him. And I hated that. They didn't get anything for him either. They got nothing for Derrick Henry. They got nothing for Landry. It just seems like this is an opportunity to explore it. Let's get something for him because he's loading up, especially with this move. It's like we're gearing up for another big cartload of money. And is he worth investing at this stage of his career when you're not going to be very good? Probably. Is it better off getting what you can get?
He said he has if you're the Titans, you give him an extension. You add that last year, so it ends up being a 4-year extension. You got to pay the man over $100 million again. You're gonna have to.
So it's interesting that in the national scene, it's not really a narrative that people are like other teams around the league. Hey, they'd be interested in Jeffrey Simmons. These guys would be interested
because the Titans have been so bad and they haven't been relevant. And even when you're one of your marquee players, a guy that people recognize in the league, like they recognize Jeffrey Simmons around this league. It's understood. He's a damn good player. But I mean, his contract it's coming up. You have to deal with it.
But
simple.
Yes, you pointed this out. But at the same time, I think there's still an emotional. It's tough to part with a guy that's that good, and when you trade him, your roster goes from X to X minus a lot. They're so low on impact players. It's tough to face that, but this is where they are.
But
it may not help Cam Ward this year because the defense
should
won't be
he
as good.
be? And this is the problem that this roster has.
It doesn't help you this year.
Yeah, this is the problem that this roster have, and we've been talking about. We're going to continue to tell you that. Do you sacrifice Jeffrey Simmons because you just don't have a good roster? Like, can't you sacrifice somebody else? No, there's somebody else that's even close to Jeffrey Simmons what we would get in return. So yes, he ends up being a sacrificial lamb. When if you had a little bit better roster, then maybe you can go to somebody else and maybe they can be that guy that not get a first round draft pick, but you can get something for them that can then help your ball club via the draft.
I wouldn't give him away for just pennies on the dollar, right?
No.
If hey, we're trading him, and the best trade is, well, we'll give you a second round pick.
Nope.
It's not like that. But I do think it's time to really see what the trade market is. When we come back, we've got a lot more people that are weighing in on this. 615-737-1025. What do you do with Jeffrey Simmons? Is it time to really face reality? Should you trade him if you could get a first round pick? As Bill Barnwell from ESPN is saying, that's the trade value that he has. Stay tuned. We're coming down the home stretch of DVD next. Final segment of DVD here on this Wednesday afternoon. Titans training camp moving along. Second day in pads. We've recapped a lot of it. Cam Ward, some more growing pains. A little better today than yesterday. A lot of tip balls. He also faced the media, and it was a long press conference, a lot of questions, and a lot of them on the tone of, hey, how do you feel about the struggles? I think he handled himself very well. Stayed even keeled. I'm sure Jared Stillman will have more on that during his show. That's been one topic. And now we are wrapping our arms around this Jeffrey Simmons that we started off as just listing him as a guy that evaluators like Bill Barnwell have is you could get a sizable return for him. And I'm bringing up the question, is it worth trading him? Paul Kuharsky brings to our attention that he has changed agents as well. And so we're gearing up for a situation where his contract is going to be addressed at the end of the season for sure, if not before that. So that could contribute to the decisions that you make.
Yeah, it does. But this whole Jeffrey Simmons situation, and it's not really a situation, the agent change. And listen, it could be because the contract is looming, but then again, it could be because maybe they didn't see, he and his prior agent didn't see eye to eye. And maybe he felt, okay, the deal that we got done together, that was great, but moving forward, I need somebody more so in line with what I'm thinking, because my career.
Remember, it was a lot of
my career is on it.
It was a lot of lovey-dovey.
Now.
I love Amy. Amy loves me. It was different than a lot of deals are done, but there was a question of, do they have the cash to address it? So it was a little unique. The first big deal that got done with him, but there was never any question that he was going to stay. It was just, let's come to the terms. This might be a little different. It's trickier when a guy gets a little bit older and things haven't gone as well. He's coming off. It's a complex situation. He's dominant, but he's been hurt. He hasn't had huge production. The team hasn't been successful. So they're in a different place than they were the last time he had a deal. And so he has changed agents. I'm not sure for that reason, but that's part of this equation here. A lot more feedback on the text line. Would Big Jeff want to gamble with being traded to a lesser team that has no chance of winning a Super Bowl?
Well, if you're trading,
because there's no evidence right now that we know of that he has asked for a trade or anything like that,
listen,
right?
And I don't want anyone to misinterpret what we're saying or come up with their own conclusion based on what we're saying. Jeffrey hasn't indicated that he wanted to trade. He hasn't hinted at him wanting to trade. None of that has come out from his camp. But being a former player and understanding contracts and knowing you got 2 years, especially in today's football, today's sports period, when you get down, when you have 2 years left, really you got one if you're a really good player. So that's the part I do understand that, and that's why it's coming up. And then Barnwell talked about, what would you get in exchange for an individual on particular teams. And in this situation, the Tennessee Titans, they only really have 1, 2, 3 outside of Cam Ward, 3 players that may be able to fetch something high. And that's stretching with 3. I think really 2, Sweat and Simmons. But then even Sweat, I think he'll get you a 3rd round, but nothing more than that. But we're not even looking to move Sweat. He's so young. But Simmons, yes, because he has a year left on his contract after this one, and he's still under 30. And I understand that. Listen, this is if he's gonna be a part of your roster, this is when you need to make it happen. If they get in the middle of the season and he's traded, to the texter's question, he won't be traded to a team. He won't be traded to a team that's
because those teams aren't going to be in the trade market to add. Probably it would be more likely to be a contender trying to add a piece like him, which means it's going to be a lower 1st round pick. So it needs to be more than just a 1st round pick. You got to tell me what else you're getting me.
So it wouldn't be a losing team trading for Jeffrey Simmons in the middle of the season.
Yes, these are all things to consider. Let's read through some of these other. We got so many that have texted. We appreciate that. Skylar says, I have a Simmons jersey. and I say, definitely they need to trade him. Get all the capital you can for him. Let's not act like he's been great the past couple years. And
Well,
then,
it was just 1 year. It was just last year.
yeah, well, really 2 years. He had
the ankle injury the year prior, so he was struggling with that. So I'm going to give that season, at least half of it, a pass because he was playing on a badly hurt ankle. I think that was 2 years ago. Last year, I don't know what it was.
I think the ankle was when they had a good year going. That was
But
the
it was
Tannehill.
still, wasn't he hurt 2 years?
He's been
wrong
hurt
with
really
him 2
3 years.
ago.
Oh yeah, he's had 3 straight years of things that he's been dealing with. He's played through a lot of it. Here's an interesting one. Let's trade Simmons while we can get a high pick for him. With him, we only won 3 games last year. That's true.
It wasn't Jeffrey Simmons' fault. He did everything he could
this is like,
to his ability.
But
anyway.
there is something to be said for you're going to lose with him, or you're going to lose and get stuff for him. Jonathan says trading Simmons now would be burning cap space and losing a cornerstone player during the exact time you need cost-controlled star power. I don't know if he's cost-controlled. He's pretty costly. How far down are the Titans on the list of first-round picks compared to the rest of the league? Pretty low. But I would encourage you to take a look at the comparison Bill Barnwell does of all 32 teams.
Willie, quickly, and this is outside of football. This is basketball. This is weird. I just read this. I think you sent it, David. Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas and 5 other defendants, including a suspect high-level Israeli crime figure, were arrested today on a federal indictment alleging they operated an illegal gambling business with which high-stakes poker games were played at a casino mansion. Arenas own. When the feds start getting involved,
bad sign.
Bad sign.
And we got to consult Adam because he's got a lot of Gilbert Arenas stuff in his. You grew up watching.
He grew up in that area watching Gilbert Arenas.
Gilbert Arenas is complicated. Let's just say
that's saying it lightly, right there.
Exactly.
He's been a very light term for him.
He's been complicated. So,
all right, we are out of time for today. On that note, great stuff. Back with you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Stillman and Company is coming up next.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, wonderful Wednesday. Peace.